Okay, so this is Carcassonne, one of the most incredible fortresses in all of France. I mean, it looks like it was ripped right out of a fairy tale, doesn't it? But what if I told you that the castle you're looking at right now is kind of a fantasy? This is the wild story of a fortress that's had three different lives: one of ancient creation, one of near total destruction, and one of a seriously controversial rebirth. Just look at it. With its 52 towers and those massive double walls, the Cité de Carcassonne is exactly what you picture when you think medieval stronghold. You'd think it's been standing there just like this for 1,000 years. But that picture-perfect image, well, it's hiding a pretty big secret. In fact, its perfection is the most misleading thing about it. Because this incredible piece of French heritage was almost wiped off the map entirely. The story of Carcassonne isn't one of careful, loving preservation over the centuries. Oh no. It's a story about a dramatic, last-ditch rescue that didn't just save it, it completely reinvented it. So, let's start at rock bottom. By the 1800s, this mighty fortress was basically useless. Centuries apiece meant it had no military purpose. It had become a crumbling, rundown slum with shacks and houses just crammed up against its ancient walls. To the French government, this wasn't some national treasure, it was a wreck, a hazard waiting to be demolished. And so, in 1849, the official order came down: tear the whole thing down, demolish the fortress, and sell the stone for scrap. This icon was officially condemned. So, how does a place that was once so important fall so far? To get that, we need to go way, way back. The whole story of Carcassonne really boils down to one thing: location, location, location. It sits on this perfect hilltop that controlled the super important trade routes between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. For literally 2,000 years, the rule was simple: whoever held this hill held the power. First, you had the Romans fortifying this spot around 100 BC. Then the Visigoths took over. They're the ones who gave the city its name. After them, the Franks. Every empire just kept adding new layers of stone and history. By the 11th century, it was a booming cultural hub. But that golden age, well, it was about to end in fire and blood. So, jump forward to the early 1200s. Carcassonne finds itself smack in the middle of a brutal religious war known as the Albigensian Crusade. It was basically a campaign by the Catholic Church to completely stamp out the Cathar faith, which was flourishing in southern France. And Carcassonne was a major safe haven for the Cathars. So in August of 1209, a massive Crusader army shows up at the gates. The people inside, led by their young viscount, felt pretty secure. I mean, look at those walls. They thought they were untouchable. Yeah, that confidence didn't last long. Their young leader was lured into a trap and thrown in prison, and the city surrendered. The Crusaders showed zero mercy. They kicked out the entire population, every man, woman, and child, forcing them to leave with literally just the clothes on their backs. It was a vicious end to the city's independence. After that, Carcassonne actually became a super important French border fortress for a while, but then, in 1659, a peace treaty moved the border south. And just like that, Carcassonne was obsolete. The army packed up and left, and the fortress was just abandoned, left to rot for hundreds of years, which brings us right back to that demolition order. But this is where Carcassonne's second life begins. That demolition order caused a huge public outcry. It sparked a whole movement to save the fortress, led by a local historian and a writer who's now pretty famous. And believe it or not, they won. The demolition was canceled. The enormous job of restoring the fortress was handed to one man, a brilliant, visionary, and, as it turns out, deeply controversial architect named Eugène Viollet-le-Duc. See, Viollet-le-Duc didn't just want to repair the castle. He wanted to reimagine it. He dug up historical documents, like this drawing from 1462, which clearly shows these cone-shaped roofs. This drawing is what inspired him to add the pointy witch hat roofs that are now Carcassonne's most iconic feature. His goal wasn't just accuracy. It was to create his own perfect, idealized version of a medieval castle. And this is where the controversy really kicks in. Viollet-le-Duc was from northern France, so he topped the towers with slate shingles, which is common up there. But historically, castles in this southern region used low, flat terracotta tiles. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. He didn't restore Carcassonne to what it actually was. He transformed it into his romantic dream of what a medieval castle should be. So even with all the historical debates, Viollet-le-Duc's romantic vision is what turned Carcassonne into a global sensation. Its third life as a modern icon had officially begun. Today, the fortress brings in around 3 million visitors every single year. That makes it one of the most popular tourist spots in all of France. And then, in 1997, it got the ultimate stamp of approval. It was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the irony here is just beautiful. It was praised as an exceptional example of a medieval fortified city, the very version of it that was, for the most part, dreamed up in the 19th century. And the fortress isn't done inspiring people. In 2018, it became the canvas for this absolutely stunning art installation. It just goes to show this isn't some dusty old museum piece, it's a living, breathing part of our culture. And of course, it inspired the board game. For millions of us, that's probably the first time we ever even heard the name Carcassonne. Its cultural footprint is just immense. So all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question. When you look at Carcassonne, what are you actually seeing? Is it a genuine medieval fortress, perfectly preserved through time? Or is it a breathtaking 19th century fantasy of what a fortress should look like? You know, maybe the most amazing truth is that it's both, a real history that was reimagined into an unforgettable story.